Welcome to StriveScan College Launchpad. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. We have some fantastic panelists here with us today. The panel will last approximately 45 minutes. My name is Abby and I'll be your facilitator. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping announcements. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you, but you can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on our website. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/launch. And now I'd like to turn it over to our first presenter, Galen. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so thrilled to have you with us today. And for those who are watching our recording, to have you with us at whatever time is working conveniently for you. We're going to go ahead and get our presentation pulled up, but I just wanted to really quickly share a little bit about how this presentation came to be. We are focusing today on how to navigate the college search as a BIPOC student. And this will be the only session that's happening this week that's not actually led by colleges. While I'm at a college, I'm going to stop talking after this slide and let our experts take it away, who are coming from high schools, community-based organizations, and nonprofit organizations that I think are just best equipped to give this really practical and wonderful advice in a really unique and special space. So I'm really, really thrilled to be here today and sharing this space with all of you. Just because I already said my name, I'm Galen. I'm our Director of Recruitment at Lawrence University. We're located on the ancestral home grounds of the Menominee and Ho-Chunk people. And I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Carmen Lopez.
Hi, everyone. Good to meet you. I'm Carmen Lopez, Director of College Horizons. We're a college access organization that serves Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian students from across the nation. And College Horizons is based in New Mexico, and our organization also sits on the ancestral homelands of the Pueblo community, and particularly the Tamaya or the Santa Ana peoples. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Ann Morano, the Executive Director for the Colleges That Change Lives organization, which is a nonprofit, student-centered collection of 44 very distinctly different liberal arts colleges and universities. And I am super, super hyped to be with you tonight. And thank you for, or at any time, because you could be watching this later. So thanks for investing in yourself and making the space to be with us this evening. And I am broadcasting to you from the ancestral and unceded territories of the Humano, Wichita, Kickapoo, and Caddo nations.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day. My name is Sanjay Mitchell. I'm the Director of College and Alumni Programs at Thurgood Marshall Academy in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. sits on the ancestral lands of the Anacostans and the Piscataway and Pamunkey peoples. So definitely want to give acknowledgement for that and welcome you to our session this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to kick us off, and I gotta put my timer on, so keep me on track. Start. Okay, I'm setting the stage to talk about when we're thinking as BIPOC students, and again, I work mostly with Indigenous students from across the nation who are also multicultural, multilingual, biracial, where we identify across many different connections and relations to one another. So I think that that's important even within the BIPOC wording. It's not just, you're not just one thing, and in college you're not checking off the box for one part of who you are. We're many things, we're many peoples, and that's what makes us, you know, beautiful and blended and powerful. And that's just to kind of open up to say we need to have some comfort in when we're exploring college with certain lenses in mind, because one of the most important things that we're teaching at College Horizons is how, for us, do we connect community, culture with college. And we believe once we get these three things really in sync with one another, then we're able to find that alignment, that fit, that match, and kind of have that feeling that it's going to help set me up to be the most successful student that I can be wherever I might travel across the country. So the place that we start off was, how do we connect community culture in college? And we want our students to bring their ancestors with them, to bring all of who they are to that college campus. It's not for us a choice of becoming mainstream white. If you become educated, that somehow you lose your indigeneity, and that for some reason to become educated in a Western setting means that you have to give up something. So I don't believe in those binaries with our students. I believe that you can have both. You can have and access multiple knowledge systems. And that's where, for us, we have a tagline, College Pride, Native Pride, where we're trying to bring together that understanding that you don't have to choose one or the other and give up part of yourself. So this is what's really important when you're first thinking about who am I? Where do I come from? What are the important cultural pieces that will come with me, and that maybe my family or community also has certain types of values and influence for us. This moves us into the next section of considering your core values. And what I mean by this, the larger question that we think about for us within working with Native students is, what will your contribution be? For many of our students, we're coming to college not from this individualistic standpoint where it's my right to go. This is always what I'm going to extract from an institution. It's not self-centered only for me, but it's more about how am I improving myself that will have a ripple effect into improving my family, community, my nation, my village, and the larger community. So for many students of color, for Indigenous students, we're doing this for more than ourselves. And for colleges sometimes don't really understand that at times, that translation, that we're bringing our families with us to college, literally, for this return into the community in some way, whether we're literally going to be returning back to the community right after college or down the road as we build ourselves up. But a lot of the times, think about your core values, think about what your family, community core values are, and keep those at the top of your list and your mind of what you're looking for when you're starting to explore the colleges, and seeing if there's other students that are attending that college with similar core values in mind, or if something at that college is resonating with you. And this could also come for example, for LGBT community, or it could be women who are interested in women's colleges and the values that that type of institution could provide for them. So you can start to extrapolate where that match is, okay? The next part that we talk a lot about at College Horizons is about our support systems and what we need and who we need to surround us in order for us to be successful in college. It's really important for you as students to first define what success means for you in college. It can mean many, many different things for all of the students. College attainment is our goal, right? To get through to the end. But if you're a broken down student, you've been broken down from that experience in college, and you're not well, you're just struggling to get over that finish line of college, we don't want that. We want college to be a place that, yes, is going to challenge you. It's not going to be a perfect fit for you, but it should be a place that pushes you, that you have a community that you can rely on, vent with, get support from, grow with, and help maybe pave new pathways for students yet to come, that you, especially if you were struggling with something, that maybe you're making it better for them. But this is something, we do this battery of questions for students as they begin to work with us in our program. We send this survey of almost 70 different questions that they have to answer. And it's everything from what part of the country do you want to live in? Are there political persuasions that you're most interested in? Are there campus climate or state climate? And I'm talking about the political, social environment that's around you that is important to your core values that need to be aligned. But also back on the campus side for us with Indigenous students, some of our students come from schools with large Native populations, and then once they get to college, attending a predominantly white institution can be a very big change. So we ask students up front to begin to think about, do I need to go to a college where other professors look like me, might be teaching Indigenous studies there? Is there a student services program or student organizations? So again, you can think about what are the support systems on that campus, or are you a student that has gotten used to being in the minority and you feel that you can navigate that because you've already had the experience of doing that in high school. So that's one way to look at about support systems. And then to round off my last bit here on thinking about the college fit and list, I'm going to just hit pause on my timer so it doesn't make big noise. When we're doing college advising with our students, when we're talking about fit and alignment and match, we're talking about multiple things. About financial fit, that's always on the top of the list for the parents, is they're concerned about how am I going to pay for college. For the students, they start to get there after they begin to talk with their own parents about this. And for both parents and students that attend this session, you know, this is something in many of our families that we might not talk about. We might not talk about our family income. Kids don't know, am I middle class? Am I lower class? Am I, and I'm talking about on the socioeconomic, where do we fall? Because again, this might not be the normal family conversation that we have. And this is the time where we're going to have to start to sit down and talk about, what does college affordability look like for my family? And especially, we don't want families to be scared away from college without realizing that there's a lot of aid out there, especially for families with high need that are under-resourced. The important part on finances too, that we work a lot with our students on, is that in many Indigenous families, we don't look like the traditional parent, mother, father. We have grandparents that are the guardians, aunts and uncles guardians, older siblings that are taking over. Our family structures can look very different than what like colleges or the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is asking. So don't be dismayed or alarmed if you're trying to still navigate that process and that your family doesn't look like the typical questions that are being asked. But getting back, because financial aid is such a huge one for college. The other things though that we talk with our students about is, what is the academic fit? How are you working as a student right now? And does that match with the rigor of the college? And are you going to try to push yourself for a next level? So making sure that that academic match and fit is there. And then of course, social, cultural, how far away do you want to be? Do you want to be within the state, the region? Do you feel like you can take one flight away, or can you go all across the country to experience something very new and different? And again, the last parts on here about well-being, community connection, and being your whole self around college fit, that those are the things that you get to choose. As a student, sometimes we come in thinking, I'm going to beg for a college to accept me, to admit me, and whoever is going to admit me, it's you know, it's like you're saying that power and that choice is on their side. We want to empower you as students on the front end, as you're shopping, as you're exploring, as you're discovering colleges, to think about, what is it that I want from a college? What do I need to be the best student that I could be so that I could meet my full potential? And if they don't have what you're looking for, then take a pass. And we've got 3,000 colleges out there to consider. So you're going to find one that matches you. So just again, bring it back to what works best for you overall, but also don't discount who you are, what's made you an amazing student as a BIPOC student, and all the identities that you have. That's what makes you beautiful and brilliant. And it's the colleges that should be seeking you when you're going through this process as well. Okay, thank you. I'll pass it on to Sanjay.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And I loved that framing of how you started the conversation for our students and their families in thinking about this very next important step of planning to go off to college or engaging in some post-secondary work after you're finished with high school. So before I get really into the nitty-gritty of it, and Carmen gave a very high-level, great intro into what it is, I want to get into some of the more nuts and bolts of how you go about getting into some of these practical things while you're entering into your senior year. So ready, set, go, right? So the most important thing is talk to your families about your aspirations. As Carmen mentioned, this is not a singular decision that you're making on your own. This is something that involves mom, your siblings, grandma, aunts, uncles, play cousins, play aunts. All of these particular folks are part of this umbrella, under this umbrella of you going off to college. So it's not just something that you're doing in isolation. Keep yourself organized, create a checklist and some timelines just to make sure that you are following along with deadlines, because deadlines are important and they're real, and just want to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself in your senior year. Now is the time to start gathering your necessary information and documents. We'll get more into that later on, but as Carmen mentioned, some of us BIPOC families have very unique family structures. We have very expanded definitions of family, and that doesn't always translate when you're filling out financial aid forms. And so you definitely need to start gathering your documents and start making sure that everything is aligned, so that way it doesn't delay the process for you, especially when it comes to securing financial assistance. Do your research. College and financial research, not just, I want to go to this college, and it miraculously happens. No, you have to do your research and you have to take care of your business. And coupled with that, it's important that you build your support team starting now. The support that Carmen mentioned while you're in college is important, but that support that you need to get through the paperwork, get through the essays, get through the application, that's also as important as well. Next slide, please. So one of the most important things that colleges will look for is really your transcript. And colleges are not, I'm saying I used to work on the college side, so forgive me a little bit, but colleges are not so much obsessed with your GPA as they are with the types of courses that you're taking within your 4 years. So learn the difference between what are required courses that the colleges are looking for. And most colleges will tell you they're looking for pretty much the same thing, right? 4 years of English, 3 to 4 years of math, 3 to 4 years of sciences, some say 2, your social studies, your language, etc., a suite of electives. And that sometimes can be your baseline requirement. What is really going to make you stand out is the type of courses you're taking and how far you go above and beyond what your school has to offer. If your school doesn't have any AP courses, colleges will see that. They will see that your school doesn't offer AP, but they'll want to know what's the highest level in a particular subject area that your school has to offer, and are you taking that course? Are you pushing yourself and challenging yourself to be one of the best and brightest within your particular school? Are you in an area where you can take advantage of dual enrollment? Colleges will ask those questions as well. Colleges will ask about IB, International Baccalaureate programs, or any other kind of academic distinctions that can separate you from everyone else. And it's not to separate to say that you are better than or more qualified than, but it's really to look at how well are you challenging yourself, given the context of the school environment that you're in, And this is a great indicator to colleges as to how well you are going to challenge yourself once you are a student on their campus. So make sure that your course selection is solid and make sure it is strong and make sure it aligns with what you're interested in studying. If you're looking to go into the STEM field, don't shy away from AP Bio or AP Physics or pre-calculus or calculus, because that's going to be some of the things that are going to be impressive on the application. If you know you're more artistic, you'll gravitate more towards the humanities side, don't shy away from electives in the humanities, poetry, art, things that will definitely make you stand out and speak more to your passions is exactly how you should be curating your course schedule moving forward. Next slide. So to test or not to test, that is the major questions. And as someone who works within the school, I know that's one of the questions that most of my families and students are asking. Should I test or should I not test? Check with the colleges that you are interested in before you decide to make a final decision on whether you should test or not. My motto, it is better to have and not need than to need and not have. But by no means am I going to tell you to go out and take the test. Absolutely not. But if you know that you live in states like Florida or Oklahoma or even North Carolina to a certain degree, and you know that if you're interested in one of the state schools, they're going to require you to have your test. They're going to require you to have either the SAT or the ACT. So definitely make sure that you are not putting yourself in positions that can ultimately lock you out, even out of your state schools as well. So find out what those requirements are and if they're required and how you go about getting your scores sent off to them. As BIPOC families and Black families and everybody else in between, we sometimes say, how am I going to pay for this? This is beyond our family's means. This is beyond our income. We don't know how we're going to afford a $60 test on a Saturday morning, etc. Seek out fee waivers. There are fee waivers that you can get from your counselor. There are fee waivers that you can get from community-based organizations. Your church can sometimes provide you with a fee waiver for the test. You just have to ask and kind of trigger that for them. Your school definitely has fee waivers, and College Board and ACT will provide fee waivers directly if you ask and if it's needed as well. Those fee waivers can absolutely be helpful when it comes to score submission as well, because you do need to send off your test scores electronically to the colleges, and it does cost. It's about $13 per school. So if you're thinking of applying to 10 schools, you're looking at $130, especially if those schools are not test optional. So definitely find out about the fee waiver programs. See when the tests are being offered, whether your school offers SAT school day, so you can take it during the school day. So make sure you're present and accounted for on that day if you have to test, or if you're doing it on a Saturday, make sure it is in a space that you can easily and comfortably get to Saturday morning to make sure that you are front and center and ready for the test. And if it comes down where you don't need it or most of your schools are test optional, do that research as well. Look at fairtest.org and see exactly all the schools that are available test optional, so that way you can determine whether or not it's worth investing the time and effort in the test or not. Next slide. So there are a number of different places to go to get information about colleges. I want you to be discerning. I don't want you to Google best colleges and then, a whole list pops up and then there's rankings and all of these things. That will take you down a rabbit hole that is not going to be productive. So here are some places that I would recommend as reputable sources to look for your colleges. Use IPEDS, the IPEDS. Once you go ahead and you Google that in, it will come up, you'll come up on a website that will take you to how the federal government is identifying and codifying different colleges across the country. It will tell you things such as the cost of attendance. What's the debt that students graduate with? What's the ratio of students of color who are graduating on the campus? What's the male to female ratio? What's the faculty size? Is it a research 1 school, research 2? What is available on the school and the campus that might be exciting that you need to take care of or need to pay attention to? College Scorecard also provides you similar information as well. And both of those resources allow you to compare schools. So if you're thinking, oh, I would love to go to my favorite HBCU, but I don't know if I want to go to my public school in the state that I live in, you can compare both and kind of see which one narrows and works well for what it is that you and your family are saying your next 4 years of college experience should look like. The Common App is also another great tool to use to help you navigate and pick colleges. There are over 900 different colleges on the Common App. I wouldn't advise you to apply to all of them. Don't do that. The maximum you can apply to is 20. I strongly suggest 10. So that way you can manage all of the processes that happen within the research and within the space of applying to college as well. So use the Common App to help you narrow down schools that are like-minded to you and schools that are of interest. And of course, I'm going to do a plug for Colleges That Change Lives, ctcl.org, a consortium of about 47 different small liberal arts colleges that you can use to kind of help make sure that you are picking the right schools and the right fit for you and your family. And when in doubt, ask your counselor. If you're not able to get to your counselor, ask another trusted source. There is plenty of information out there, plenty of knowledgeable folks. I do want you to be discerning, but I also don't want you to suffer in silence and walk this journey on your own. Next slide. So who's paying for this? One of the things Carmen mentioned was that, you know, it costs money to go to colleges. And as families, I can tell you, please don't be jarred or shocked by the sticker price of what the colleges cost. That if you've ever had an experience with buying a car, you know, they tell you this car is $35,000. Then by the time you're finished, you're actually paying $26,000 for the car. And then you figure out all of that. So colleges kind of work somewhat in a similar vein. But in order for the price to be reduced, you have to do your part. And your part is to complete the financial aid applications. Definitely make sure your FAFSA is completed and completed early and on time. FAFSA opens on October 1st every year, and it uses the prior year taxes. What does that mean? That means that the taxes that your family completes this year, so their 2021 taxes, is the taxes that you will use to fill out the FAFSA if you are planning to start college in the fall of 2023. So if your parents have not done their taxes yet, give them a good nudge. Say, hey, you know, October 1st is right around the corner. Summer is that quick, and then we'll start school again. So want to make sure that you get all of that information out of the way. If you know that you have a unique family circumstances, and we won't get into what that is because every family circumstances vary, but if you know that you are not with a biological parent and the FAFSA requires you to put a biological or an adopted parent on the form, if you know you're not living with either of those two and you're not able to get information from those two, make sure you speak to your caretaker about getting the right paperwork. So that means that you would need to get court-appointed documentation saying that that caretaker is your court-appointed legal guardian. Not a notary, not a 4-page letter saying, I just want you to take care of my child because, you know, I love you so much. Not any of those things. It has to be court-appointed. Sometimes that can take a while to come in. So I strongly encourage you to start that conversation now and start gathering those important documents from now. So that way you are not locked out. The other thing too, when we think about how to pay or who's paying for this, is paying attention to national scholarships that are coming on the horizons and big scholarships that are really targeted towards BIPOC students who are doing incredible work inside of the classroom, as well as incredible work inside of their community. Questbridge and Posse are two of the most popular ones that come to mind. There are many, but those are the two most popular, particularly if you're looking to go to schools that can support you if you have deep financial need. Also, don't ignore your local scholarships. There are lots of local organizations. Your church may have a scholarship, mom or dad's job may have one. Your local Boys and Girls Club may have a scholarship. If you live in an area where there are a lot of Greek lettered fraternity and sororities, you may find some of them have scholarship opportunities as well. And when in doubt, seek your counselors. Your counselors are more than equipped to help you figure out what exactly it is that you need to do and what scholarships your students have been awarded in the past, so that way you can position yourself to be a recipient of those scholarships as well. Especially scholarship for undocumented and DACA students, those opportunities does exist too as well, and I'll leave Anne to talk some more about it in the next section. CAPEX is another great opportunity as well, to definitely plug in your information and have scholarships sent to you. But you have to apply. Get over this anxiety of the essay. The essay is what it is. Keep a bank and a suite of essays available at your fingertips, so that way you can use that to tweak to apply to different scholarships. But if you don't ask, you don't get. So you have to make sure that you ask, and you have to make sure that you apply. Next slide, please. All right, so build your team and set your goals. After this presentation, we'll share with you a resource bank that has a number of different opportunities and resources available to students. Key amongst them is a timeline of the senior year as far as what it is that you need to be paying attention to and at what point in the year you should be paying attention to it. And it also gives you some great questions that you should be asking, because you don't know what you don't know. And so the good thing is that the questions give you an opportunity to ask so you can learn, but also you get to listen to what their responses are so you can know whether or not it is really part of your plan and this is the right school or right organization or right scholarship fit for you. Okay. Again, communicate your desires with your caretakers and trusted loved ones. There are going to be, those folks are going to be the people who are going to be your ride or die. They're going to be in your corner. They're going to support you. They're going to champion you, but you have to get excited about it so they can be excited for you and with you as well. Again, seek out your school counselor, your college counselor. I've said that several times. Do not suffer in silence, friends. Do not think that nobody's interested in you going to college or nobody wants to talk to you. Everybody loves you. Everybody wants to talk to you, but you have to talk to them. And if you don't talk to them, then they won't know. It's time to start thinking about college recommendations. Identify at least 3 teachers who you think can support writing your recommendation. And now is a good time because they can spend the summer really drafting and crafting a really strong recommendation letter for you. But your work is not done there because you have to make sure that your resume is completed, brag sheets are completed, your drafts of your personal statement, and all of those things are ready to go. So when the applications launch at the end of August, in some cases the first week in August, you are right on time to definitely hit it and get those documents and the application out the door. And again, some of those, if not all of those resources are available in the resource guide that we are going to give to you at the end of this session. And lastly, if you have a school, there's no school counselor involved, and there's no place for you to get all the things done, seek out a CBO, a community-based organization. And that can go anywhere from your Boys and Girls Club. Sometimes they have great resources to help students fill out the application. Check your local library. Check the College Bound program that's in if you live near a college campus, particularly an MSI, a minority serving institution, or an HBCU. You'll more than likely find a College Bound or some program of the sort available on that campus that can help to provide some additional support or fill in the gaps where you might be missing in terms of information sharing and information gathering. So please make sure that you are expanding your network and expanding your resource. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll turn it over to Anne to kind of take us out.
Thanks, Sanjay, and thanks, Carmen, for perfectly setting up what I want to share. And I think if you hear nothing else, we want you to feel empowered and in charge of this process. It really is all about you. You are enough, and that the strength in your search and your application comes back to who you are and your history and the folks that came before you. And so we really encourage you to embrace all of that, because that's what makes you the unique you that you are. And there's only one of you in the world. And I know that over my 30 years in college admissions counseling, students will ask me all the time, what are they looking for? They, meaning the colleges, and what they're looking for is you. But I'm going to remove the quotation marks because there's no quotation marks around you, just sparkles and confetti, although confetti is messy and it gets everywhere, so maybe not confetti. But there's only one unique you. So we want you to get comfortable around, as much as you can, around sharing your authentic voice and your full story, the story of you. I think when students approach the personal admissions essay, sometimes that's hard. Oh, what do I say? What do I say? Again, what do they want to hear? How do I write this? You write it in your voice and you write it about you. And when you do that, when you are honest and authentic, it will be brilliant, because it's all about you. Those are the compelling stories. Your story is what the colleges are looking to hear. We want you to embrace, as Carmen mentioned so beautifully, we want you to embrace your heritage and your culture and your strengths, and to look at those, that background, your cultural background, your ethnic background, your historical background, your immigration story background, the immigration story of your forefathers and foremothers and ancestors, as strengths and not as deficits. I think sometimes for BIPOC folks, you're taught to maybe downplay that or to hide that, to assimilate, right? And to not let all of that shine. And we want you to be able to get to a space where you are highlighting all of that, and to look at the fact that you may be multilingual in your family's native tongue as a strength, to look at all of the skills and talents that it took for your family to make really tough decisions, to navigate challenging situations around being displaced from your homeland, around acculturating and learning new cultures and new language and new systems of doing things and new schools, all of those things. Everything that you had to adapt and learn and navigate, if that is part of your story, look at that as a strength and not as a deficit. Those are skills that you have built up that a lot of folks do not have. And I could talk on and on about that in terms of time management and being strong and resilient and adaptable and flexible and knowing how to pivot. Those are some real things. If you had any responsibility in your family, and we've talked about that too already, how this is not just a you-centered experience, although I'm saying it is because I want you to realize how fabulous you are. But we realize that your entire family and that generational wealth that you bring with you is involved in this process. Talk about those responsibilities that you've had. I know the pandemic may have upset some of your co-curricular experiences, and you might not have had access to as many clubs and organizations or things to do outside of the classroom, or maybe because of your own personal life and financial situation, you've not been able to be involved in a lot of different things outside the classroom because you've been working or taking care of siblings or elders or that sort of thing, or you're in a school situation or community situation or place where there aren't a lot of ways for you to get involved. That's okay. You get to brag about the stuff that you have done, and I want you to elevate those experiences because they're just as valuable. Make sure you brag a lot, toot your own horn. And then as we move to the next slide, you've heard several times that you should try to gather folks around you who will cheer you on and have your back and be there to support you. And I call that your personal board of directors. So who are the folks that will tell you straight up what they think, right? In a nice, loving, supportive way, not like all harsh and judgy and shady and cruel, but like, who are your cheerleaders? Who are the people that know you maybe sometimes a little better than yourself, who you lean on to lift you up when you're having those tough times? It's important to keep them close. And sometimes that might be a trusted mentor at school, or an advisor or a counselor or a teacher or a friend or a pastor or minister or some other significant person in your life. It may not always be your family, and that's okay. I want to challenge you to recognize your power. And so you see Rihanna there. That's to remind you to put your crown on and keep your crown on, because you have so much to bring to the undergraduate community that will be lucky enough to claim you. And both of my colleagues, Sanjay and Carmen, have both mentioned this. Do the colleges deserve you, right? And so you are going to be impacting those college communities with the strength of your background, all of the hard work that you've done to this point, and all of the ideas and visions and hopes that you have for yourself, your family, and your community. You're bringing all of that to bear on that undergraduate community and enriching it. And so think very carefully about, as you have your crown on, raise your chin up so it doesn't tip. What are those schools going to do for you, right? Like, what have they done for you lately? And when they speak about services and support and believing in and uplifting BIPOC students, what does that look like really? Right? So take a critical look. You can do that because you are all that and you're bringing a lot to that campus. You can ask the tough questions, and because you have the power, they need you to create that undergraduate community. They need you to carry forward the message of that college. You can ask those tough questions about, okay, I read on the website that you've got this program or this multicultural center, or that this faculty member is there. Can we talk a little bit more about that? You can ask for data if it's not published. You can ask to talk to other students from your background, your experience, your community, to get kind of the real scoop on all of that and what you might expect for yourself. And so just remember that there's strength in that. We want to encourage you also to raise your voice, and that's our next slide. Know your worth, to not be shy about asking for help and self-advocating when you need it. The only question, there's no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that you don't ask, but I don't even mean to be judgy about it. There's no dumb question. You're not going to ask a question that somebody hasn't heard before. And if you do, bonus points, and maybe those are things that they definitely should be thinking about. It's all in service to you and your experience in finding the community that will deserve you, that will support you, that will challenge you, that will nurture you, that will launch you, and that will recognize all of the fabulosity and the strengths that you bring as a BIPOC individual. As you continue to make it all about you and stay student-centered, we encourage you to take advantage of the resource drive that we've created. And there's a QR code on the next slide that you can check out. Hopefully you can scan that with your phone, or you can use the bit.ly link, and Sanjay and Carmen have both mentioned this. But there are things there that we think will be super helpful for you as you get started, all the way from how to start your search, questions to ask yourself, how do you get at those values that Carmen mentioned, that are so essential to you and your being, and how to locate the schools that reflect those back so that you know those will be good communities for you. What are some of the questions you might ask as you begin the search? There's a whole bunch of information in there on financial aid, and just kind of an awkward insert for students who may not have the privilege of citizenship or legal status, and I will put that in quotes, legal status. There's also a folder of resources for folks who are undocumented or lack that privilege. And so if you are an undocumented student, or you have undocumented friends or documented friends who have the DACA status, please refer them to that, because undocumented students go to college, and depending on where you live, there are support programs at the state level for financial aid and admission consideration. There are some states that are more supportive than others. There's a lot of information in there for you as well. I could go on and on and on, because this is one of my favorite topics. Just knowing that you are in charge, that it really is all about you, and that those colleges and universities will be blessed and so enriched by your presence, that if all you can do is remember to take it a day at a time. It's just Monday. I usually say it's just Tuesday, but that doesn't work on 6 days of the week. So it's just Monday. Take a deep breath, recognize that there is support for you, that is all about you, and that I'm going to put my information in the chat. So if you have questions that come up, if there are things that you wonder about, if I don't know the answer, I'm happy to put you in touch with somebody who does. And certainly as the executive director for the Colleges That Change Lives, which is an organization, shameless plug, that believes all about and keeping the student at the center of the process. We hope that one of our 44 colleges might be the right place for you, but if it's not, we want to be a resource for you all the way around. So I'm just going to stop there, conscious of our time together, and put my information in the chat. And thank you again for being here and showing up and stepping out for yourselves.
Thank you, Anne, so much. And Carmen and Sanjay, everyone has shared just some incredible wisdom today. I cannot echo enough this resource that is absolutely amazing. As we said, we'll go ahead and put our information in the chat. I'm sure that we would be happy to answer any individual questions that you, your friends, your family, your counselors may have. College admissions is an incredible privilege to get to work in, and to get to know so many incredible students and families, and watch you all continue to grow from the amazing people you are into the even more amazing people that you're going to become. So thanks again to all of our panelists today, and we look forward to chatting more with any of you who have questions. please feel welcome to share this QR code and link widely as well. Anyone is absolutely welcome to these free resources.
Thanks for saying that, Galen. Un aplauso muy fuerte para todos que están aquí con nosotros. And those who are not, y los que no están.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to our panelists. This was a wonderful presentation. Just a few reminders as we wrap up this evening. Thank you for joining us. When this window closes, there will be a link to a very quick survey. We'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. We also encourage you to check back on the schedule and sign up for more sessions throughout the rest of this week. You'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other sessions recordings at strivescan.com/launch. Thank you again. Have a great evening.